All right, everybody, welcome to NorCal Sports Network. And this is the same hat that Brock Purdy's dad wears. Chat loves it when Marty Lurie comes on.
Anytime you lose a game this time of year, when you can't go backwards, it's a problem.
Ow! I just kicked my knee under the table. All right, everybody. Welcome to NorCal Sports Network. As we talk tonight, we'll be talking about the San Francisco Giants and can they surprise in 2025? Can they surprise in 25? Maybe that should be the team slogan, Bora, instead of nothing like it. Surprise in 25 with a question mark? All right, we're going to get right into it. All right, everybody, welcome on in. Let us thank our sponsor of the show. That would be Chapman Law Group. Chapman Law Group is a full-service legal in Marin, located in Marin. They're licensed in all of California. They do everything from bankruptcy to litigation to
real estate,
whatever you need. Give Chapman Law Group a call. And how do you get a hold of Chapman Law Group? Well, that's a great question. Give them a call at 415-613-9483 and make sure you let them know NorCal Sports Network sent you. And maybe you just want to let them know that, you helped get Bora out of prison and that, you need, whatever. All right, guys, let's get into this. Bora was thinking about this. What are we going to talk about? It's the off season. The Giants haven't done a ton. They've got the big signing Adames, and then they got Verlander last week, and they added a catcher out of Texas, Sam Huff, who has some power, but a lot of strikeouts. And what's the plan? And I got to thinking, because you guys know my thought. I've said this is a fourth place team, right? I think it's a fourth place team. And Aaron, answer to the thumbnail. No, great show. Good night. All right. Here's our take tonight. All right. This is going to be, the show's going to move a little bit. We're going to talk about the team. We're going to talk about individual players, position by position, the bench, all of that. We'll maybe even talk about the other teams that have to break down. But the first order of business is to answer the question to the thumbnail. And that is this: can the Giants surprise in 25? I don't think they will, but could they? Yes, because nobody thought they could in 21, right? They won 107 games. So I see it this way, and we'll break it down. One, they have the potential to win 90 games if, and if is the biggest word in sports, right? So if everything goes about perfect, just about perfect. What do I mean by perfect? Little injuries, and that almost every person to a man plays above their potential. Some guys just need to play to their potential, to their back of their car, their baseball card. Guys like Willie Adames and Logan Webb, and if Ramos has a repeat year. But you're going to have big years from everybody. Is that likely? No. Second, I see this team as a fourth place team, most likely ending around 80 wins, in that 76 to 82 win, right in there. But it also has the potential to lose 90 plus. Okay. So it could easily lose 90 games. Baseball is a very funny thing. It can go one way or the other. You could get hot, and if you get hot, it can continue to carry over. If you struggle out of the gate and really are, going up a steep hill to climb and your backs are to the wall and you could fall apart. You could lose, this team could lose 90 plus. So I am not saying what they will do. The question isn't what they will do, it's can they? And the question has to be, there's enough talent there that it could all mesh. Very unlikely. Okay. So don't take me wrong and said, Dan thinks they can. I'm just telling you, I've been around sports for over 50 years, been watching sports longer than that, probably closer to like 53, 54 years. And I've seen some Giants teams. The 96 team was awful. 97 team, some good moves were made. JT Snow, you know about Jeff Kent and some of the pitching that was all brought in and everything gelled. So, Bora, you give your breakdown and then what's your thoughts, and then we'll go into this as a team and then by position.
Yeah. Can the Giants surprise in 2025? Anything's possible. Like you said, 2021, they won 107 games, right? So if everything goes right, anything is possible. Is it likely? No. You still have the Dodgers, you still have the D-backs, you still have the Padres ahead of you. And I don't think it's particularly close. But again, if everything goes right, anything can happen. I mean, if Justin Verlander resorts back to his 2022 self, then they can, if he can replace Blake Snell, then they could do it. If Robbie Ray goes back to his Cy Young self from a couple years ago, they could do it. If Logan Webb keeps on churning, if Kyle Harrison and Hayden Birdsong like step up, then it's possible. It's not likely, but again, anything is possible. And I know we're going to get into individual players and everything. But again, anything is possible. Anything can happen. It's baseball. It's a 162 game season. You never know. There can be injuries. They can make a trade. There could be a breakout star. Bryce Eldridge could just completely break out and surprise some people. You don't know. It's not likely, and it's more likely that they're under 500 than over 500 and in the wild card and in the playoffs. But it's not likely, but it can happen. It's a possibility.
Yeah. Hey, Robert, thanks. Robert says, like and subscribe, guys. Yeah. Like to the channel, subscribe to the channel. If you're over on X watching, give this a subscribe. Come on over to YouTube and subscribe. You can still watch over on X. You know, baseball's funny, Bora. And you pretty young, so you got a chance to see the 2014 Giants. That was probably your first team you really remember. And you were 10, right?
Really remember it, but I vaguely remember it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, you really haven't seen much good baseball then, because in your lifetime, unless you go back and watch the highlights.
Not at all, no.
Yeah. So as I look, I've seen some Giants teams that surprised people that came out of nowhere, right? Now, the Giants when they have had good years, they've always had a star, okay? 93 team you had Will Clark and you had Barry Bonds and you had Matt Williams. 97 team that was, the 96 was awful, but they had Barry Bonds. Okay. And then they traded for Jeff Kent, and then they ended up getting Ellis Burks later in a few years later. But they always won with stars. In 2010, they won with Posey. He was rookie of the year, but he was really a difference maker. And then they had the great pitching in 10, 12, and 14. The Giants really only have one solid pitcher right now in Webb. But like you said, if Verlander and Ray pitch to their potential, what they have done in the game already, they've accomplished. if they have some kind of renaissance, breakout, comeback type year, and those three guys are pitching well, Webb and Verlander and Ray, and then all of a sudden it gets a little bit contagious, and Harrison starts going out there and pitching well, and Birdsong, and let's say you really don't have a weak spot in the starting rotation. Okay. So that all plays out. Pitching, the bullpen, Duvall comes back, has a 23 type season instead of a 24 season. Walker continues on what he did last year. Jordan Hicks moves back to the bullpen, and he becomes what he was for the St. Louis Cardinals for a few years. All right. Now you go to Chapman. Chapman has, let's say he just has a decent year like he did last year. It's 20, what did he hit? 26, 27 homers and hit 47 or something like that, 248, somewhere in 30. It was a better year than normal. If Adames has a year like he did last year, good. Let's say Tyler Fitzgerald, where he hit like 15 homers in limited time. Let's say he hits 20 plus homers and steals you 20 plus bases and plays really good defense, cuts down from 33% K rate to like 23, 24, 25, a little bit more reasonable. First base, I don't know what they're doing there. Let's say Wade is just, and Flores hold the ship down until Eldridge comes along late in the season in August or something like that, and things happen there. All right. Jung-Hoo Lee comes back, plays really good center field, hits you 280, and, is on base a lot. Matos takes over the job, and he does well. And Ramos plays off of last year and improves a little bit. Now, again, guys, I am painting a picture where, again, this is dream world. This is perfect. Everything goes smooth. That does not happen generally. It does not happen. Okay. So you guys know me. I'm very realistic when it comes to my takes. I don't try to, give you sunny blue skies when there's dark storm clouds that are very visible. I do see this team, again, right around the 77, 76, 77, 82, 83 wins. I think that's where I think they're a fourth place team. But the difference between winning 80, 82 games and 90 is not that much. It's like 5 games, really. Because if you're winning 82 and you're going 82 and 80, and all of a sudden you're 5-6 games better, everything starts to shift because the games take on more significance.
Exactly. And what you said with those individual players, there's there's a lot of uncertainty right now. Ramos last year had a breakout season. I don't know if it was technically his rookie season, but that was his first major breakout season. We don't know if he's going to have a sophomore slump or he's going to continue on that path. Tyler Fitzgerald broke out last year as a rookie. Is he going to have a sophomore slump or is he going to continue along that path? Jung-Hoo Lee is coming back from a major injury, a major shoulder injury. Is he going to be his former self? And remember, he still hasn't played a full season in the MLB. He's coming from Korea, where a lot of people think it's around AA, the skill level. Mike Yastrzemski, I think we all kind of know what Mike Yastrzemski is going to give us. He's going to be an average ball player, nothing special, nothing too bad. Luis Matos is another question mark. What is he going to do? Is he going to get a spot, and is he going to take advantage of that spot, or is he going to be riding the bench? Matt Chapman is a little less of a question mark. I think we know what he's going to provide at third base. He's going to give you elite level defense. And at the plate, he's going to hit anywhere from 235 to 250, 20 to 25, 30 home runs a year. And then right now it's probably around like 70 to 85 RBIs. Willie Adames, we don't know what he's going to do, because you look at this past year and he had a great year, but you look at the year prior and he had a pretty down year. So he's been up and down the past 2 years. I don't know what he's gonna provide here. And let's remember, it's Oracle Park. He's not playing in a dome in Milwaukee. He's not playing inside. I mean, I talked about Tyler Fitzgerald. Patrick Bailey, we haven't talked about Patrick Bailey. I mean, he's an elite defender, but first half of the season he's great, both offensively and defensively. But he just gets worn down. Do the Giants have a viable backup catcher? Is Tom Murphy that answer? I don't know. Is Sam Huff that answer? We don't know. But I think the Giants need to figure out who their backup catcher is, because that backup catcher is going to need to play a substantial amount on the field to be able to give Bailey some rest. Again, Bryce Eldridge, he's another question mark. What is he going to provide? Is he even going to be on the team this year? Posey was on the radio today, and I'm pretty sure he said like they're fine with keeping him in the minors all year. So I think there's a possibility that he's just in AAA the whole year. He could come up and provide, but we don't know. Justin Verlander, he's a question mark. He's coming off an injury-riddled season where he had a 5 ERA. Is he going to go back to his old self, or is he going to just continue on his trajectory as a 42-year-old or 41, 42-year-old? And is that going to just keep on going downhill, or is he going to have one last hurrah season? I talked about Robbie Ray again, but he was the Cy Young in 2021, I think.
Right, with Toronto.
And I mean, with Toronto, yeah. And last year he showed some promise. He showed some things, but he wasn't consistent at all. And they have high hopes for him this year. From what I've taken from what Posey said, they expect him to do some dirty work. And then you have Kyle Harrison and Hayden Birdsong, who are both young pitchers. I think Harrison's 22 or 23. Birdsong might be the same age. But the Birdsong just had his rookie year. I think Kyle Harrison last year was his rookie year as well. They showed some promise. They didn't show a lot. I thought Birdsong showed more than Harrison, just stuff wise. So I'm expecting Birdsong to kind of step it up this year and have kind of a breakout year. I don't know what Kyle Harrison is going to provide. And I would argue the most important, not the most important part of the rotation, but one of the more important parts of the rotation that no one talks about is in spring training. It's the 6, it's the 7, and it's the 8. Tristan Beck, Landon Roop, Keaton Wynn, Jordan Hicks, maybe. There are going to be injuries in your starting rotation. That's just a fact. I mean, someone's going to go on the 10-day IL with like shoulder inflammation, or they're going to strain a hamstring or something. Something's going to happen. So someone's going to need to step in. And is that going to be Jordan Hicks? Is that going to be Tristan Beck? Is that going to be Landon Roop? We don't know. And they didn't have anybody last year. One of the main problems for this team the past couple years has been the starting rotation. I mean, the bullpen, the bullpen's been really solid the past couple years. Just maybe not if you look at the whole year, the numbers might not be super solid, but if you're just looking at the individual player and you're looking at the first half of the season, the bullpen has been elite. It's just the starting rotation has sustained some injuries, and the bullpen has had to be thrown in to do long relief. They've been taxed these past 2 years. And they've just been worn out these past couple of years. So there's a lot of question marks with this team. I don't think that, I mean, when there are a lot of question marks, it's more likely that the team is under 500 than over 500. I think there's a higher probability.
Correct.
Yeah.
Too many question marks. Everything again has to go perfect. So as we said, can the Giants surprise in 25? They could. I mean, they're not like the Chicago White Sox where it's not like the White Sox, who have no chance. I mean, could the White Sox surprise in 25? Yeah, they could get worse. Okay. They're horrible. Not going to happen. White Sox are not going to even, if the White Sox don't lose 90 games minimum, that would be like a huge shock. But the Giants are, right in that 500 range projected, a few games under, a few games over. That's kind of where the Giants are. That's where they've been since 22. So you look at them and you say, but can they surprise and get an extra 10 wins than they got last year? I'm not telling you that it's impossible, because it is possible. We just broke it down for you. Bora just said, if Ray and Verlander pitch to their potential of their past, if Webb continues to pitch as he has, and you get the bullpen that has been solid, all that plays out, and you get good defense, baseball is a weird sport. It's not like basketball so much, where rarely does an inferior team beat a good team. Okay.
It's a 162 game season. I mean, you can go on a 10 you can go on a 10 game losing streak, you can go on a 10 game winning streak, and you can be 50-50 and then just go on a 10 game winning streak, be 60-50 and be first in the wild card. It can happen super fast.
Yeah, it can happen, and all of a sudden things just gel. And then if things happen before the trade deadline, and all of a sudden you get in a position where you are hot, or you are in that position of a wild card, and you make a deal or two that makes you even better. Look, I've seen crazier things happen in life. Okay. So I'm not here to tell you that the Giants will be a playoff team. I personally will bet against them not making the playoffs. I will probably bet the under, the way I see this team right now. I see this team as, again, they're over under 79.5. I should have taken it when it was 80.5. 79.5 is sketchy, because I think the Giants are right in that ballpark. But one thing that is concerning to me is about the Giants, and why I think they're going to struggle a little bit more than last year, is Blake Snell was on your team last year. Now he's on a division opponent, which you see 13 times. So you play the Dodgers 4 series. Figure you miss them twice. 3 games, let's say you miss them twice, because their Dodgers are going with a 6-man rotation most likely. But let's say you face them twice and you lose 2 times. Instead of having Blake Snell pitch for you 2 times against the Dodgers, which potentially you might win 1 or 2 of those, you're likely to lose both starts when you face Blake Snell, because the Dodgers hitting. Same with Corbin Burns. You could have had Corbin Burns, but now he's on a division opponent. So, and if for some reason Roki Sasaki chooses the Padres, oh my goodness, that's the worst case scenario for the Giants. You actually want Sasaki to go to the Dodgers rather than the Padres, because you're not catching the Dodgers, period. Mm-hmm. So get that, mark it down, book it. You're not catching the Dodgers. But you could, if everything went right and everything kind of didn't go well for San Diego, you could catch San Diego, because they could have they could have injuries. They could fall back down some games and the Giants go up. That's how that could happen. But if Sasaki goes to the Padres and you got to face him now, you're just locking yourself into a 4th place finish, most likely. So the Giants, again, let's look at the position by position, Bora. Let's just break it down. Catcher, Bailey. What do you see his projections is? And you know what? I will pull up each player that we talk about. We'll just pull up their lifetime and see what they actually have to do to break out and be something different. Okay. So let's start with Patrick Bailey. What do you see that the Giants need from Patrick Bailey?
Patrick Bailey needs to be consistent the whole year. These past 2 years, he started off hot. Beginning of the season, he's been great, but just he hasn't been able to sustain it for a whole year. So in order for him, I don't know what his ceiling is because it's kind of hard to judge him because he hasn't necessarily done it for a whole year. I'm going to say his ceiling is what he does in the first half of the year, which is be an above average hitter, and an elite defender. So right now with his stats, he throughout the whole year he finishes as a below average hitter and elite defender. What his ceiling
Pretty consistent. Look at that, 233 and 234.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty consistent. The OPS
100 strikeouts each year. Wow.
Yeah, it's very consistent. He's been very consistent with the first half rise and then the second half fall off. I don't know if that's going to be like just his player type, and that's just how he is. Or is there anything he can do to be able to sustain that for a whole year?
What can the Giants do to mitigate that?
They can sign a legit backup catcher, or they can have a legit backup catcher. I wanted them to go out and get Travis d'Arnaud from the Braves. The Angels signed him. I thought he's been in the system with Sean Murphy. He's used to splitting time and splitting reps with Sean Murphy. That I thought that would have been a really good signing because Patrick Bailey's good and he's a Gold Glover, but he can't start. He can't play 121 games, or he can play 121 games. I could argue he can't play catcher for 121 games because that just wears him out, and he is just worn out. I mean, that second half of the season was rough. It was just strikeout after strikeout, and then ground out to first base after ground out, roll over and roll. It was bad, and it was tough to watch. They need a legitimate
like this. I just did a little figuring. 162 times 67% is 108. What happens if you just did Bailey, just never played him 3 games in a row, even if he's hot? Just 2 games, sit. 2 games, sit. And don't even worry about if it's lefty, righty. Just play him 2 games in a row, sit. Or you play him like the Braves did last year between Murphy and d'Arnaud. They switched every game. No one caught 2 games in a row.
You could do that, and in order to do that, in order to play him 2/3 of the season, you need someone behind him who is viable. I mean, I don't know if Tom Murphy is that guy. Tom Murphy's a decent hitter. I mean, I know he got injured and he wasn't anything before that, but his history projects that he's a decent hitter. He's an above average hitter, I should say. But his defense is horrible. He cannot throw out a runner to save his life. And Roberto brings it up. Yeah, someone like Bart would be great. If you could have Bailey and Bart switch time, that would be great.
That's what I was calling for before they traded him. I thought you had the perfect backup in Joey Bart, taking the pressure off of him. Unbelievable. All right, so we covered catcher. Let's go to first base, and let's assume it's Lamont Wade. All right, there's Wade's numbers over 6 years. He's got a 246 batting average, 351 on base. Home runs, he's hit 53 in his career. He's had 18 and 17 in his 2 biggest years. What do you see Lamont Wade giving you?
Well, before that, the one thing that glares out to me that stands out is the RBI totals. He does not drive in runs. He had 34 runs batted in last year in 117 games. That is rough. And I know I think he was batting leadoff for a lot of those games, and that just might be a testament to the Giants not being able to get runners on base. But again, the Giants could not hit with runners in scoring position last year. And if you just look at the stats, if you just look at the stats, you can see the 260 batting average, the 380 on base, the 761 OPS, and the 121 OPS. That's not bad. Like that's actually pretty good. 121 OPS means he's 21% better than the league average.
Right.
That's a productive hitter. But in this lineup where you don't have a hitter who can hit 30 home runs, You might have that in Bryce Eldridge. You need a guy who can drive in runs. And
Okay.
Lamont Wade is fine as a bench bat, as a platoon guy. If I don't think he can be your everyday starting first baseman just because he doesn't provide enough. I mean, the stats are fine, but if you look at the raw numbers, 8 home runs, 34 runs batted in, I mean, 16 doubles, that's not viable. You can't have that be your starting first baseman. You can't expect to be a playoff team and have those numbers be your starting first baseman. It just can't happen.
Well, who's this? I guess that's a position that'll be platooned, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that would be with Wilmer Flores. And Wilmer Flores had an awful year last year, an injury-plagued year, only had 242 plate appearances, hit 206, had a 76 OPS. But look at the year before, 135, or 137, 72. I'm looking at the wrong one. I'm looking at our bat plus. 72 OPS plus last year. Just write it off. 137. But his Wilmer's going to be 33 this year. He had a horrible bat speed last year. It just was awful. That's something that's kind of hard to get back, isn't it?
Yes.
Bat
And
speed?
Dan, what do you always say? What's the first thing to go?
The bat speed.
Exactly. And that, I mean, he's going to be 33. I from what I saw last year, granted he was injured, I didn't see a lot to make me excited for him being able to be a productive hitter going forward. I think he's kind of done. That 2023 year was kind of his last hurrah. We said it. They should have traded him at the deadline. They should have got what they could have.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's just, I couldn't believe this team has just missed out over and over and over again, Laura, on guys they should have traded.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to second base. It looks to me like Tyler Fitzgerald's getting the job. He's really only has one year. He had a little bit of time in 23 where he only got 34 plate appearances. So let's just look at his year in 24. I mean, it was batting average 280. That's not bad. He did have an OPS plus of 136. That's pretty good. The one area that's got to change is right here, the strikeouts. This 108 last year in 341 plate appearances. If you do the math, that is 35% of the time. That's
no bueno.
Yeah, that is he's feast or famine. I mean, 15 homers. Okay, so Fitzgerald, let's project this out to 162 game average. They're saying 275, 26 homers, 60 RBIs. But look at the strikeouts, 180 and 573. That's crazy.
Dan, could you scroll up a little bit to the 2025 projection? Right there. So he's projected to have a little bit of a regression. 260
strikeouts,
326, 792 OPS plus, or OPS, I should say. I mean, only 15 homers and 40 RBIs. That needs to change. You need to be able to drive in runs. I mean, I think runs batted in, for all the analytical stats this day and age, you can have the OPS plus, the batting, whatever, the bat speed, the launch angles, all these things. If you can't drive in runs, you're not a productive hitter. I mean, it's just that you're not a team player. You cannot drive in runs. You cannot help your team score runs. If you're not doing that, then what are you doing? I mean, they're all empty stats because you're not helping your team.
Right.
He's projected to have 15 stolen bases. If he's going to be playing every day, he needs to have 30 stolen bases.
Absolutely.
He is one of the fastest guys in the whole MLB.
I saw him in spring training, still second and third last year, 2 or 3 times. Both just moving on the run constantly, just taking off.
I think Posey is going to make that an emphasis because I heard him saying that we're not afraid of him getting thrown out. He's just gonna go for it. He needs to go all out because I think based on sprint speed, he was one of the fastest guys in the league. up there with Bobby Witt and Ellie De La Cruz. So if you're up there and you're stealing 15 bases a year, something's wrong. So he needs to be in that 30 range.
Now, one thing they're saying here, which is true, Baseball Reference is projecting this based on his plate appearances last year. If these numbers get up over 600 plate appearances, and I mean, that's going to push up the home runs and RBIs and stolen bases automatically. So if if he's got 374 plate appearances, if you added 30% to that, that's going to actually probably do 40%. What is that? 374. And if you went 140%, you're looking at least 523. So everything else would go up 40%, you would assume.
You would assume that, right? But at the same time, last year was his first season and he didn't play a whole season. So I don't know if he's ready to play a full 162 game season. I mean, we just went over Patrick Bailey. He's first 2 years in the league. First half was very good. The second half, he's just gotten exhausted. So if Tyler Fitzgerald can play it out for a whole season, then that's great. If he can have 20 to 25 home runs and 30 stolen bases, that's great, and that's really productive. But again, a lot of the underlying metrics were not in favor of Tyler Fitzgerald. There was that streak where he had 7 or 8 home runs in a week or something.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's probably not going to happen again. So what can he do throughout a whole season?
Yeah, true. Let's take a look at Willy Adames and see, as we move over to shortstop, we'll take a look at his numbers. I mean, last year was a really outstanding year. It wasn't even his best year offensively, though. I mean, his best year was probably 2021 in several categories with 21. Let's see, what am I looking at? Yeah, he had 2 teams. So 21. What am I looking at? I'm looking at the wrong thing. I guess last year was his big breakout year, but he does strike out a lot. 688 plate appearances. So he plays every day, which is great. 161 games. I like that. I like the fact that he's available. As they say, the best available. What is it? The best
ability is availability.
Best ability is availability. Yeah. So he had an OPS plus of 118, not as high as you would think for a year where he hit 32 home runs and drove in 112 runs.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that OPS plus would have been a lot higher.
I don't know how OPS plus is calculated. It's very interesting.
Yeah, let's see if they tell it. It's there it is. Adjusted to players' ballparks. Okay. So it's on base percentage plus slugging.
It's very complex.
Slugging. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't even, all these stats that they've added since the advent of the game. I'm not sure of all of them, but just try and look at the eye test.
Yeah. I mean, 2024 was his best year offensively. But if you look at the previous season, 2023, you can look at it here, the OPS plus, that's at the 94. He had a 94 OPS plus. That was his worst. It was his worst season as a big leaguer. And this last year was in a contract year. So you got to take that into consideration. He's playing for that big contract, and now he's got that big contract.
Right. Does he regress?
Does he regress? Does he play up to his contract? Does he play down to his contract? He had 21 stolen bases last year. I like that. I don't know if I haven't studied him too much, so I don't know how fast he is. But if the Giants are going to run this year, and like I think they should, and I think they kind of might, they should just go all out, and he should go for 30-30.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, this team has to run, because last year we watched and they just never got off. I mean, they just didn't run at all. They were the worst in baseball. So, all right. So let's take a look now at third base. And that, of course, is Matt Chapman. Matt Chapman had a year where he had again, OPS plus. It's always been above 100, so he's always above the league average. 125, not bad. I guess you take into consideration the ballpark. 27 homers, only 78 RBIs. That has to change. The one thing I like about Chapman and Adames is they're going to give you close to a full season, 160 games. I mean, Chapman missed a few games last year, but again, one was for contract. He missed 3 or 4 because of having a baby. So nothing really kept him off the field due to injury. But he's a 241 hitter lifetime. He does, again, strike out a lot, does not drive in a lot of runs. His average is 80 RBIs a season. Now factor in that 1 year of 91. So he does
that was the juice ball year, though. I mean,
correct.
He hit 36 home runs and he still only drove in 91 RBIs.
Right.
So he's just not an RBIs guy. He doesn't really hit with runners in scoring position.
Correct.
He should hit like anywhere from 23 to 30 home runs. I mean, he's pretty consistent. 2021, 27, 22, he hit 27, 23, he hit the 17. That was kind of a down year though, because there were reports that he had a broken finger and he kind of couldn't play through that. And then last year, 27. So he's valuable to a team, and he could definitely he's not bad to a team. He definitely helps boost a team. It's just those RBIs. You got to be able to drive in runs.
Right. All right. Let's look at left field. I'm assuming that's Elliot Ramos. It was, I don't know if he plays right field, but I think he's probably going to play left field. Really only one season to look at. I'm not even going to look at his previous stuff because it was just, sporadic at bats. So he hit 269. I think he's probably going to be about a 260 to 275 hitter in that range. He, let's pull it down here and look a little bit. Not bad. I want to look at. Okay. So 2.3 WAR, OPS close to 800, pretty good. OPS plus 125. Home runs, he hit 22. What are they projecting for? Wow, look at that. They're projecting. What do you mean? Less plate appearances? How do you do that?
I think these projections are kind of whack.
Oh, come on. His plate appearance
maybe
518, and they're projecting he didn't even play the first month of the season, month and a half almost.
That doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make sense at all. This is ridiculous. 400. I mean, what are you doing? Factoring in an injury to him? How do you do that? Come on.
You can't do that.
You can't do that. I mean, he's going to have 600 plus plate appearances next year. That's ridiculous. I mean, what is your total wins projection if everyone produces at their average expected level? Ryan says. If everybody does at their average expected levels, I'm going to say they're going to be right around 500, Ryan. 80, 81, 82, 79 to, right in there. If everyone this is why I say they have to produce as a unit, as a ball club. You have to take in their best projections for them to surprise, as we said tonight. Can the Giants surprise in 25? Yes, if everybody exceeds their expectations. When I say everybody, I mean 80% of the team. Okay? I mean, you can't get to all 26 guys to overproduce.
And that's exactly what happened in the 21 season. I mean, everybody overproduced. Crawford had a career year. Belt had a career year. Lamont Wade Jr. had a career year. Solano was playing great. Alex Dickerson had a great year. I mean, who else are we talking about? Who was their center fielder?
Well, they had Talkman for a while, and he did some crazy stuff. I
Mhm.
don't even remember who their center fielder was that year.
And Posey had a great year. Webb had a great year. Gosman had a great year. DeSclafani had a career year. Alex Wood had a great year.
Right.
A lot of these guys had career years. That's what happens when everybody has career years.
Yeah, exactly. And so when that happens, the team gels and things can go together. The problem is that they thought they could run it back the same thing in 22, and they realized that these guys actually just overperformed. That's the year I believe Crawford got the big 2-year contract and got paid for 22 and 23.
Mhm.
So I think you're going to have to look at this as you need a catalyst. Buster was the catalyst that year. He was the guy that made the engine run. And we've seen that. I mean, with Buster, just the type of player where he elevates Duggar. That's right. Dallas. Thanks. It was Steven Duggar. Yeah. Duggar was the guy. And he even had a good year.
He did, yeah.
Yeah. So I think what we'll just not go on with Lee. I mean, Lee is Lee. We'll see what he does.
Scroll back down with Ramos. I want to see his stats a little more. Because I know he had a really good, like when he first came up, he was on fire and he sustained that for a long time.
Right.
Then he had a thumb injury or a finger injury that.
Thumb.
Yeah, he had a thumb. I don't know. It was like a sprained thumb, or it was something was wrong with his thumb. And we got the report, and we could see that he wasn't right. He was grimacing at the plate. There was just something that wasn't right, and his stats kind of plummeted. He wasn't producing as well.
Well, he was hitting the 300 at the All-Star break.
Yeah, I mean, he was still producing at a high level. So I don't know how much that thumb impacted him. I think it impacted him a decent amount, but he was still able to produce. His underlying metrics were pretty good. So I don't think he's going to have a down 25. I think he's going to kind of take right back off what he did.
Yeah, I think Ramos could give you 25 to 30 home runs next year. And he could, especially if he's obviously going to start day one. And I need your voice of reasonableness. I feel like I get lost in the sun sometimes. Okay. Well, we try to keep it reasonable here, guys. Tonight we're discussing if the Giants can surprise in 25. We're just pointing out best case scenario that if everything goes well, you have guys that have done it before in a lot of the positions. Okay. We know the pitching staff. You have 3 proven guys who are either won the Cy Young or finished second in the Cy Young. 3 in your rotation. Webb, second. Ray's won a Cy Young, and Verlander's won Cy Youngs. So you got those 3. Harrison has the pedigree to perform. He hasn't put it together yet, but he has the pedigree. It's in him. So could he do it? Yes. Birdsong, we just saw bits and pieces. We saw some flashes last year. I like what I saw. Can he put it together and do it over a full season? It's possible. Is it likely that Harrison and Birdsong pitch above what they're capable of and have really successful years? Not likely. I wouldn't bet on it. Is it likely that Ray has a big, huge bounce back like 21? Probably not. And is Verlander capable? Is it likely he pitches to what he did in winning the Cy Young in 22? Probably not. He's a couple years older, coming off a neck injury, but it's in him. So we can't
possible.
We can't just discount it and say there's no possible way these guys were. Guys, what we try to do here at NorCal is be objective. Okay. We're not homers. We're Giants fans, but we're not going to sit here and blow smoke up your you-know-what and tell you that this is the great team. It's going to win 90-plus games. and it's a playoff lock. No, they're not a playoff lock. They'll be lucky if they finish above where they did last year, which I
They'll be
think was
lucky
like
if they
11th.
finish in third place
They
in the
finished in
division.
fourth, but I mean, I think they finished like 10th or 11th in all of the National League. I think it was 10th.
They're 10th.
Robert,
Yeah, I have it
we
right here.
get
They're
it.
10th.
We've been talking about it. Verlander, I mean, all these guys, I mean, of course they're determined. They're not determined to come in and screw it up. All these guys are determined to have a good year. Every baseball player in the major leagues and minor leagues comes into the season thinking they're going to have a good year. Name me one player that's going to come out and say, I don't expect to have a good year in 25. I mean, there's not
Zero.
one.
There's not one.
There's
player.
not one player in sports that comes into a season and says, that's why you can't listen to what people say. You have to look at things objectively. You have to look and say, where are these guys? Where have they been? What are they doing? Are they older? Are they, the Giants, I hear all this talk about, oh, we're going to do this. Look, everybody thinks, what's the saying in spring? Hope springs eternal, something like that. Hey, isn't that one of these guys that subscribe and unsubscribe and subscribe and unsubscribe and subscribe to the show? Okay. Yeah, hope springs eternal. Hey, out there. But yes, that's the thing. In every spring, every team goes into spring training think they're going to be a playoff team. I guarantee you that maybe not the White Sox and some teams like that, but they're expected to improve. Okay. White Sox are coming into this season. They're not saying, oh, we hope we can win at least 35 games. No, they're going to try and say, hey, I think we can win 60. Okay. That's what the team, we can improve. We don't have to be the worst team in baseball. What did they win last year? I think they won 41. Were they like 41 and 121, something like that? 1 or 4. I don't know what they were. I think they were 41 and 121. Okay. The White Sox would like to improve on that. And they believe to a man that they will. That's just sports. So don't listen to, hey, Red, good to see you. Don't listen to what people tell you beforehand. Buster Posey, he was on the radio this morning. I didn't get a chance to hear it. I've been busy. I'll go back and listen to it. We had some comments. I believe somebody made some. Aaron said Posey's KBR interview revealed two things. He's about as much of a risk taker as Farham was. Two, he basically admitted perhaps they value and love mediocre guys more than they should. Okay, so I didn't hear it. So I trust Aaron that he's basically kind of saying that they like Yaz probably. Sounds like they like Yaz. They like Wade. They believe in these guys. And they believe there was another guy that I heard him say the other day they thought was going to have a good year. Who was it? I don't even remember who it was, but maybe it's Verlander too. Yeah. I mean, they believe in all these guys. Otherwise, they wouldn't have them on their team. So just the fact that guys are in that position does not make somebody, how do I say this? Being in a position of importance doesn't mean you're really good at it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've all been to new restaurants that open up that are awful, right? You ever been to a restaurant? Oh, let's try this out. Well, hey, a new owner just took it over. A guy had a dream of opening a restaurant and being successful, and it went out of business after a year. Why? Because he just wasn't good at it. And that happens all the time in business, guys. I mean, take a look at your jobs and wherever you work. There's people in your workplace that have jobs, but they're just not really productive or good at it, but they somehow stay employed. Same thing happens in sports. There's players that are not productive, but somehow management thinks they are going to turn it around and there's something in there. So I'm not saying that the Giants know what they're doing. I personally think they overvalue, as Aaron said, I think they overvalue their players. I think Buster is in a learning curve right now. I think he's looking at this job and he's trying to, Buster's put in a position or put himself in a position where he has to speak the Farhan Ease stuff and promote and talk about players that, we believe in. When's the last time you heard a GM or a president of baseball ops or head of basketball ops or football say, yeah, we really think this guy's not that good. We just don't see it, but we're going to go with him anyway, even though we don't think he's going to be very productive for us. Nobody says that.
Everybody in spring training, everybody's optimistic and everybody thinks they're going to make the playoffs. I mean, it's not likely, but is it possible that Verlander, Ray, Birdsong, and Harrison all exceed expectations and perform to the highest of their abilities? It's possible, but it's definitely not likely. I mean, that might happen to maybe Ray and maybe Birdsong, but I don't think it's going to happen to all four of these guys. I mean, I'll go back to that 21 season. Darren Ruff is another guy. He had a career year.
Darren Ruff.
I mean, everybody in that 21 season, everything went right. Everybody had career years, and they won 107 games, and that was their absolute ceiling. That was their ceiling, 107 games. And they exceeded that ceiling, and they just haven't been able to get to that ceiling before or again. It's not likely that they will.
It's not likely that they will, guys. So here's a comment from George. Obvious that they has not upgraded the roster enough to compete at the highest level. Guys, we're grasping here tonight at straws. To be honest with you, we're trying to come up with a positive spin in the off season to try to give guys like Robert, who always have hope. This show is for Robert Rothberg tonight. Okay. This is to say, Robert, there is a slim possibility that the Giants, if everything went perfect, they could make a run at the playoffs. Teams have done it in baseball before. But the idea that to come out here and say, yes, it's likely that they're going to hit 90 wins, 88 to 90 wins. No, it's more likely that this team will finish closer to 90 losses than 90 wins. Okay, that's just how I see it. You may see it different. I see this team very potentially losing 90 games this year. What I think do they have the potential to win 90? Yes. They have more of a potential to lose 90. Does that make sense? And that's why, but I really think they're about an 80 win team. Okay. I think they have enough good players in guys like Adames and Ramos. Chapman's is above average player, even though I don't like the way he hits with runners in scoring position. He's still better than most. You've got Webb and pitching, and you've got some bullpen guys, and you have some talent in some positions. But if you compare them to the Dodgers, forget it. The Diamondbacks are not anywhere close to the Diamondbacks. Padres, same thing. And if you look at the rest of baseball, you look at the Braves, the Mets, and the Phillies, that's 3 more good teams. So you've got 6 teams already ahead of them, and then you take whoever wins the Central, whether that's the Cubs, the Reds, or the Brewers. There's potentially 7, 8 teams better than the Giants right now.
And a lot of those teams have gotten better.
Right.
The Cubs have gotten better. The Reds have gotten better. These teams have gotten better. I don't know if the Brewers have gotten better, but the Brewers have some young studs that are going to get better. A lot of these teams, you can't just look at what the Giants do, and you can't just look at the Giants. You got to look at the other teams and what they've done. And they've gotten better. They've done some things, or they're young, and they have room to grow. So you can't just look at the Giants and be like, oh, they made some moves and they're better. They got Willie Adames and they've gotten better. You got to look at baseball as a whole.
Right. Cole Dunstan says the Giants need to take risk, and I think at this point it is in the hands of ownership and Greg Johnson. Can't really blame either Buster or Farhan. You're probably right, Cole. I think the risks they do need to take. I think there is a risk that is available to them in the form of a trade that Buster and Ms. Menason could put together. It's a risk move, but I would do it if your plans are not to give Matos the job. If you don't think Matos is the job, then you should move off of him. And you could go out and get a Luis Robert for a few players that you can move, and you don't have to give up the farm. You could give up a group of players to go get a Luis Robert. Okay. I put it out there today. In fact, I don't even remember. Do you remember what the trade was, Bora?
No, I don't. I don't remember it.
I did a video today, guys, out on Marco Luciano. And I'm going to look. I recorded it a couple days ago, so I can't even remember what my trade proposal was. I'll look it up here. And when I put it together, I'll tell you what it was. But why am I saying Luis Robert? Because a lot of people say, oh, I don't want Luis Robert. He's injury prone. But the upside is so much greater than what you have. If you got Luis Robert and he was doing what he did in 23, where he hit 38 homers and he was just a great all-around player, and he's still young, was that the trade?
Yeah, this is the trade.
Oh, you pulled it up in the video?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was just doing it. Okay, there you go. Marco Luciano, Grant McCray, Joe Whitman, Will Bednar. White Sox get two young pitchers that, Bednar has potential just because he was a number one draft pick. He's just been injured. But if he figures it out, McCray is a guy who has upside. He just needs to cut down on his strikeouts. And Luciano, you don't know what he might do. And then, so you look at the value there, that's almost double you're giving up to the White Sox for Luis Robert. Luis Robert's going to do nothing for the White Sox. Nothing. Okay. By the time they're ever close to being good, he's gone. So George Curry says White Sox are going to want more than Bedard, Luciano, McCray, and other players you propose. They want more for him than they got for Crochet. They want probably you're not getting two top 100 prospects.
Giants don't even have two 100 top prospects. They have Eldridge, and that's it.
I mean, there's a reason Luis Roberts' surplus, George, is at 11.6 and not 30 or 40. It's because his value has dropped significantly. So that's why you pounce on a guy when his value's low. And
Dan, would you do this trade if instead of Joe Whitman and Will Bednar, it was Carson Wisenhunt?
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, because prospects are suspects until they prove otherwise.
Yep.
I probably would, yeah. If you threw in, the Giants just need to do something that is of a risk taking. Go for the look. There's a low risk from getting Luis Robert. What's the worst that can happen? He fizzles out and he doesn't play much because he's injured. You're not paying a whole lot for Luis Robert. You're not giving up anybody that you're really counting on. Now, if you gave up Wisenhunt, you might be giving up somebody, but I just think the Giants have to do something.
Sometimes you got to pay the price.
Yeah. Attract a potential star. Who's the potential star on the Giants? I say it's Ramos.
I say it's Eldridge.
Well, right now. I'm thinking, yeah.
Okay, right now?
On this roster right now that you think will be opening day, besides just pay me the $20.
Just because you said Ramos, I'll say Fitzgerald.
Okay. Yeah, I think Eldridge is a guy that definitely can be a star. But for 25, I think Ramos has the tools. I just wish he was on a team that was around him, that was loaded with guys around him, because I think his talent is minimized by the team around him. They're just not good. So I think that'll do it for us tonight, guys. The Giants, we're saying they can surprise in 25 if everything goes perfect, meaning no injuries and everybody, for the most part, on the team outperforms what they've done in the past, or in cases of guys like Verlander and Ray and Adames and Chapman, they all have what they close to their best years. So that happens, and you get some production from the young guys. Giants could surprise. More likely that there's injuries, that not everybody has really good years, that there's some regression in some of the other guys, and the Giants finish under 500 with the possibility as many as 90 losses. So that's our take. Guys, we will see you tomorrow night, 7:45-ish, maybe 8:15. I think there's a Warrior game on. Let me just check the Warrior game real quick and see what the schedule is. Do you know what it is, Bora? Does anybody even follow the Warriors anymore? NBA Wednesday,
6:30.
Okay, 6:30. That
time.
means that game will end at 8:45. Phew, that's a late game. All right, so I don't know what we'll do, but we'll have some videos out. We'll have some videos out tomorrow, guys. So check out the videos. Appreciate you watching. Give it a like. Give the show a like if you would, and subscribe to the channel. Oh, we forgot BETR, right? Better, guys. Give BETR a chance. Give them check them out on your app on your phone. BETR Fantasy Sports, where you can win money. You can win up to, what is it, 2,000 times what you put in, Bora? I think it is.
It's you get a first deposit match of up to.
No, I mean how much you can win over what you put in. Like
I don't know that. I don't know that.
Yeah, but you do get a $250 match if you put in the code NCSN. Put in the promo code NCSN. Go to BETR, download it on your Apple device or Android. Have fun and enjoy it. It is a blast to play. So we appreciate you guys being here, and we will see you sometime tomorrow. Take care, everybody.